how are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're trying something new and we're doing a live video. So I'm talking to people that are thinking about buying a home in Cherokee Village, Arkansas. Before you start scrolling listings, looking at lakefront showings, and things there are some key questions you should be asking your realtor. Questions that can help you save money, reduce stress, from which, if you're looking at lakefront neighborhoods that maybe have the best views, you want to know what subdivision to be in, if you're going to be having to pay SID fees for the amenities. Today I'm sharing my exact questions that local buyers ask me every day. Most of these are from comments that I found on my videos that after I record something, they want more clarification. So these will help you feel confident that Cherokee Village is the right fit for you and that you're getting the right house for your lifestyle. So most common thing that people ask, and I did a video about this recently, is Cherokee Village a resort or a city? So is it a retirement community? Well, none of the surrounding areas are technically a retirement community. They have people of all ages living here. You might consider Horseshoe Bend or Cherokee Village a retirement community because a lot of people who live there are retired. They buy a house on the lake, they relax on the lake, but there are plenty of people working age like me that live in Cherokee Village and surrounding communities, because even if you are retired, then you're going to have to need support staff. You still got to go to the doctor, and there has to be nurses there that work. Sorry, this is going to be hard for me to read my comments. So it's definitely a mix of people that are working age throughout the area. Even if you're not in Cherokee Village, you might be in Highland, you might be in Ashflat, might be in Horseshoe Bend, that you're going to see there's going to be a mix of people. Now, the people that do live in those towns are mostly retired people, but it is not a retirement community. There's not an age limit. The only place that I know there's an age limit is 55 and older, and that is in the Manor Homes in Horseshoe Bend. It is like 2 blocks in Horseshoe Bend, and that's a 55 and older community. So that would be the only one that would really be retirement. Another common question that I get is who pays for the SID amenities. I just recorded a video and posted it on Tuesday about SID and who pays for that. So as a property owner in Cherokee Village, on your tax bill, you're going to be paying SID assessments along with your county taxes. But if you want to go to the pool, you're going to have to pay for that. If you want to go play a round of golf, you're going to be paying green fees and trail fees. If you want to be a member of the fitness center at the Omaha Community Center, you're going to have to pay $100 annual fee for access to those amenities. That is on top of you paying for that SID. So yes, you are going to be paying for the amenities. Now you do get a discounted rate. If you had the brochure that SID puts out every year, it says how much everything is. So if, for example, on the pools, if you're a property owner, you pay $2.50 for a person to swim. But if you're not a property owner, you pay $5. So you do get discounts as a property owner, but you still are going to have to pay to use the amenities. However, there are plenty of free amenities, like there's Gitche Gumee Beach over on Lake Sequoia, and that is going to be available for pretty much everybody. They used to have a sign up that you would have to show your property owner card, but they stopped making people have those for their guests and such. So, and there's rarely anybody there that actually checks your card. So that's one of the things that are free. There's also the river you can go down to that's free. Almost all of the lakes have access where you can put a boat in, where you can get access to the lake at parks, which are really just areas that are undeveloped with homes or play equipment. You can actually go to the lake. It's just that don't have property on it. So there's plenty of things that you can do for free, but there are things that you will have to pay for. Now, other property that is around, often we'll get people that ask, we have a lot of vacant land that's available. So a lot of people want to know what amenities are available. Where's the sewer? Where's the water? Where's the electricity? I recently listed 12 acres in Cherokee Acres, which is weird because it's right in the middle of Cherokee Village, but it doesn't have all the rules of Cherokee Village. So as far as utilities, sewer, there are very few areas that have sewer in our county. There is sewer in Highland, there's sewer in Hardy. Their only sewer in Cherokee Village is the townhomes, and then there's a few river homes that have sewer. And then in Horseshoe Bend, there's some subdivisions that are on the lake or the golf course that have sewer. So most times, I would say at least for 50% of the time, you're gonna have a septic system. So more than likely, especially it's vacant land, it's more than likely gonna be a septic system, especially if you're out in the country. You're gonna have a septic system that you're gonna be using because you're too far away from the sewer system and the pipes that would take it to it. As far as if you're out in the country and you're just buying land that you want to build on, or you want to hunt on, or have livestock on, then if you find a house nearby, that's how far away usually the utilities are. Usually the electricity and the water is just at the road, and you just got to hook up to it at the road. If you're in the city limits, like in Cherokee Village or Horseshoe Bend, it's going to be right there at the road, and it's going to be city water. It's going to be Cherokee Village water, Horseshoe Bend water. Most of the towns have city water, and if you're outside the town, we actually have several areas that have county water also. There's Fulton County water, there's Glencoe area water, so there's still municipal water available even if you're not within the city limits. So it's still a good question to ask. So that would be something that you'd have to ask about each individual property. Electricity is another one, of course, and usually that's at the road. Again, it's going to depend how far away the next property is. It could be several miles that you'd have to run electricity if there's large acreages around what you're looking for. But for the most part, the water and the electricity is at the road, and you would have to install a septic. That's probably going to be my standard answer. And then for any specific property, then you can get into the details of that. Another common question that we get is, are tiny homes allowed? And I have more information on this coming up, I believe, next week. But tiny homes aren't quite as popular as they were for a little while after COVID came right out. But usually when someone asks me that question, I say, what is tiny to you? Because if they're used to living in the city in a 5,000 square foot house, 1,000 square feet might be tiny, and we got those on every street corner. So it just really depends on your definition. Lots of people are talking about like a shed or even something that can go on wheels like an RV. So you're gonna have to let me know what you think is a tiny house. Now in this area, pretty much every city, each subdivision has its own bill of assurance. And they're also gonna have the city regulations, like the code, the ordinances that you're gonna have to follow as far as what's allowed to be built and where you can put it. Most subdivisions that I've seen in Cherokee Village are about 1,000 square feet. So that's the minimum that they require that you put if you're gonna or build a home, that'd be 1,000 square feet. Now I have seen some in Horseshoe Bend that are either 1,000 or 800, but that includes the carport. So the house would be even smaller, like closer to 600 or 700 square feet. So a lot of those subdivisions would allow maybe what some people would call a tiny home. So when you find a property that you're interested, you like how it lays, you like where it's at, you like the location, then you'll want to get that bill of assurance, read through it, see what any restrictions that it has, and then decide if it's going to work for you. Now, another question is about the campground. Even though you're not allowed to camp on an individual lot in Cherokee Village, you can put RVs on it for a short amount of time. There is a campground in Cherokee Village, and we had, maybe if you watched the area, you would know that we had a lot of flooding back in March. We had a lot of bad storms. We had tornadoes, and we had flooding, and then we had more flooding, and then we're in a drought. So that's kind of our life here. You never know what the weather's going to be. But we did have flooding. Most of what happened in Cherokee Village, it was just like in the really low water areas, like in Town Center where we have a couple low water bridges. We had water over those for a few days. But most of the flooding was down in Hardy, down in the main street. It totally covered the park, Lowberg Park, where there is RV camping there. So most of the damage was not done to Cherokee Village except where the creek beds were. So the campground in Cherokee Village was open shortly after that. They had made a lot of updates to it. As a property owner, if you wanted to camp there, if you had friends come into town and you wanted to camp, you get a discounted rate as a property owner. You can do tent camping there, you can do RV camping there, and that actually is right on the river. That the river runs right through the campground, so it's a really nice place to camp if you're looking for someplace to do so in the Cherokee Village area. I had a buyer that I had given some local contact information when they were getting ready to buy, and they were asking what's the difference between like a local bank and mortgage brokers. So I always say to buyers that are looking to buy, I encourage them to talk to different people that could qualify them for a loan. You can talk to, we have several local banks here, FNBC, First Community Bank, Centennial Bank, I'll probably forget somebody. Those are some of the local banks that you can actually walk in the door and talk to a real person. And then we also have a few mortgage brokers in the area. There's John Kunkel, there's Fort Home Loans, there's Ozark Mortgage Company. So those are a few different ones that you can either talk to or you can meet in person. They both work online or in person. The difference between them is every one of them kind of have their own little programs. Like right now, FNBC has a program where they're helping doctors. They know that doctors probably just got out of college, they have tons of school loans, and so they're giving them special deals on loans to help bring them to the area. On the other hand, mortgage brokers often have a handful of investors that they're working with, and they can actually work with different banks to have more opportunities for you. Maybe if you have difficulty in getting approved, they might have somebody that's willing to work with you, where the local banks don't have quite as many options. They pretty much have their standard lines that they have to pretty much stay inside of. So again, I always encourage you to talk to several different people, see what programs work for you, see if they have special things. Like I know, for example, First Community Bank works with the Arkansas Department of Finance Administration, where you can get grants to pay your closing costs, and if you qualify for an RD loan, you can walk into a house without any money out of your pocket. So not every bank works with that program, so if that's something that you'd qualify for, you would want to make sure to go to that bank, especially if you didn't have funds available to make a loan and get started. So often, I talked a little bit about camping before, but we also have a lot of people that ask about RVs. Can I just pull up on my RV and just stay on the lot as soon as I buy it? Well, not really. Depends on where you are, of course, and what the restrictions are again. But in Cherokee Village, since that's mostly what we're talking about, the rule in Cherokee Village is that you can park an RV on a pad, either gravel or a cement pad. You can park it for up to 72 hours and stay in it. So that's perfect if you have guests coming in from out of town and you don't want them in your house, then you can have them stay there. Or like lots of people say, you can park it there and then you can fill it up when you're getting ready to go out of town. So it's supposed to be a little bit convenient for you, but it's not meant to be something that you live in full time all the time. Now in Horseshoe Bend, you can park an RV on your property up to 6 months, I believe, while you're building in Horseshoe Bend. And usually, I think that bill of assurance also says that you have to finish the exterior in 6 to 12 months. So they're figuring in that then you'll have the exterior done by that time, and then you'll be able to move in to finish it up, and you can stay inside once the shell's done. So there are a couple options there, but neither one of them have it where you could just stay in your RV forever. It's not meant to be a forever home. Now I will say, not going to tell you where, but there are places in Cherokee Village where people have RVs and they leave it there all the time and they stay in it occasionally. So it can't be about permission or forgiveness. I'm just telling you what the rules are, and you can decide what you want to do with them. Now once you buy a property, you may want to get started on it right away. Get started building, taking down the trees and clearing the lot and all that kind of stuff. Well, even once you own the property, you still got to go talk to the city and get a permit and make sure that you're following all the rules. There is a permit for cutting down trees, and then if you're going to actually be building, then you have to give the plans to the city, make sure that they approve the plans, make sure they fall within those minimum square footage rules, the setback rules, doesn't have a garage. I'm not sure what all the rules are, so. But you do have to go before the city. So that's why it's important to go to the city before you buy the property to make sure that it is something that you're going to be able to do what you want to do. Am I going to be able to put a shed on there? Is that going to be able to be the only place I live? And can I put a shed and a storage building on there too? Shed and a garage, whatever. So it isn't, I always encourage people to talk to them if they think they're doing something just a little bit unusual, so they don't get upset and find out that they can't do what they want to do. Where is public access to the lakes? So normally with, I say any property owner in Cherokee Village has access to all 7 lakes, 2 community centers, nature trails, and much more. So public access to the lakes is pretty much everywhere the lake is. Now obviously you're not going to walk across somebody's lot to get to the lake, but there are several properties on every lake just because of the terrain. For example, there is a couple just down the street from me where you could not build on it. It's like this. You can't build on that. And so there's pretty much everywhere that's like that is owned by SID or maybe ALC because it's not buildable. Lots of times they've been turned into parks so people feel comfortable walking across the property to go access the lake. But those are all places that you can go to, and there's several park-like properties like that, which all that really means is there's a few trees cleared so you can walk down to the water. I know the one on Winnebago is a little bit rocky, but you could take a kayak down there and put it in the water right there. And every lake has one. Every lake has a boat launch, so you can put your boat in on every lake. You're supposed to go get a tag for your boat from SID. But there are plenty of access points, and so that's why I often say that maybe you want a property on the lake, so you have access to the lake literally on your property. But there's plenty of times that you can buy across the street, around the corner, and still be able to walk down. And if you get to know your neighbors, you can actually do it that way too. Pretty much every community you have access to those, even if you're not a property owner. Horseshoe Bend, you don't have to be a property owner to access the lakes. Yeah, you're closer to them. Yeah, you can just go down the road if you live there, but you don't have to own it to go to the lake to play golf. I believe that currently Cherokee Village, if you wanted to, for example, play golf there, the South Golf Course is not members only. It's not property owners, but I believe the North Course is. I could be wrong, but they've changed it a couple times. I'm not 100% sure, but just to give you an idea, there are some amenities that are property owners only and some that are not, and it also depends on which town you're looking at. But usually with ownership in that town, it gives you access to more things. Another common question, especially like I mentioned, we had a lot of storms back in spring. We had a tornado that tore through Cave City this spring and took out a lot of houses, unfortunately. So a lot of people want to know about building underground weather safe places. So one thing I always like to mention is we kind of grow rocks here. So it's kind of hard to get in the ground and bury and build things underground. But we very often have walkout basements, especially looking at lakefront property. They usually have the walkout basements cut into the side of the hill. There are also several berm homes where the back side of the property is built in the hill. So you kind of have a built-in safe room if you've got that walkout basement. But if you don't have one, if you don't find a home that maybe just has a crawl space or maybe even on a slab, you will see a lot of storm shelters, and those are usually highlighted in the listings. You can search, maybe. I can search on the MLS for homes with storm shelters. They are pretty common here because we do get we're not in Tornado Alley, but they do come, and we get a lot of high wind storms. So you could just have a bad thunderstorm and have a bunch of hail damage that you might want to go into your storm shelter. So those are definitely common in the area, and they even have, if you don't have either of those available, a storm shelter or a basement, you can also go into, there's some community centers, like the churches usually open up when there are bad storms so that people have a safe place to go if they don't feel that their house has a safe place. So another common question that I find when people are thinking of moving here is what kind of jobs are in the area, considering they're going to have to transfer and they're not quite ready for retirement yet. So two of our largest employers are the schools. We have Highland School System, which is pretty much for all of Sharp County, except we have K-City in the southern end of the county. And then there's also Ozark College, which has campuses in Ashflat, Melbourne, Mammoth Spring, probably more. So those are two school employers that are very large. And then we have a lot of medical offices. We have the emergency room across the street. We have a nursing home two nursing homes in Ashflat. So those are big employers. We have a lot of home health businesses in the area. So plus doctor's offices, just plain doctor's offices, eye doctor's office, dentist's office. So all those medical services that are needed maybe by an aging community. Another thing that's often needed in our area are people that have experiences in the trades. Anything from plumbing, electrical, heating and air. Anybody with the ability to basically run their own business is going to be something that would work well here. We do have a few manufacturing jobs, like we have an Emerson plant in Ash Flat that's 2 or 3 years old, that does have a lot of welding jobs and management jobs there. If you're still wanting something big like that, manufacturing, a lot of people do travel for work. We've got a couple plants down in Batesville and Mountain Home. Those are about an hour away you could drive to for more jobs there. So those are probably most of the jobs that are available in the area. I'm sure there's other ones that I didn't think about, but those are the ones that first come to mind, and usually people can fit into one of those. A very common question that I get is, how much are the HOA fees? Almost every person that calls about a house the first time, they're like, well, what are the HOA fees? There is none. Cherokee Village, Horseshoe Bend, Hardy, Highland, Ashland, they don't have HOA fees. They don't have homeowners associations. The only places that they do, there's a couple exceptions of course, is in the townhomes. The townhomes and the manor homes. Cherokee Village has townhouses and Horseshoe Bend has the manor homes. I mentioned those that they have they're just within the 2 blocks there. But those fees are on top of your county taxes and your SID fees. It's $960 a year in Cherokee Village for the townhouses, and that does give you access to another community center and an indoor and outdoor pool, plus the outside maintenance that you get with a townhouse. And Horseshoe Bend, it's $90 a month, and you can pay either of those monthly or annually, whichever you want. But the other thing to remember is about the townhouses, you do have the sewer to pay on top of that, plus your SID fee is a little bit higher because you're in the townhouse. If you've listened to any of my videos, most interior lots are about $90 a year, but I guess they thought because the townhouses had the additional amenities, they needed a higher SID fee, and those are $270 on top of your county taxes. So it does kind of add up there, so you'd really want to make sure that you're prepared for all those extra fees. So those are the only places that you have the HOAs with the additional restrictions. Everywhere else you do have the SID assessments, but those don't have additional restrictions. Those are just fees to maintain the amenities, the lakes and the golf courses and the community centers, things like that. One question I did have, probably from somebody that's from a bigger city, is do you have a lot of ambulances? Do you have a lot of helicopter noise? And I just want to remind you that we are in a very rural area. We have 17,000 people in our whole Sharp County, which is that's only half of Cherokee Village, but the other half isn't very much populated either. So we are very rural. We don't have a lot of traffic. The 5-lane road that's in front of my office, I walk across it a couple times a week. So it's not as busy as you would expect 4-lane traffic to be. And our office is across from the ER, and we don't even get a lot of noise there. Yeah, every once in a while we'll hear an ambulance come or go. And we do have a helicopter pad there too, so a helicopter does come and take off and land there when there's emergencies that have to go to bigger hospitals, but it's still, I would say, rarely. It's only when there's really bad emergencies they have to be flown out, or they would have to take the ambulance to another hospital. It's still not very often, and that's pretty good, I would say, because of our aging community, that we don't have that many people that come in or out. But I think that's a good sign. So it just depends on what level of noise that you're worried about, but I would say that it's pretty low here. I would encourage you to talk to a local police department of the area that you're looking to buy in, so you can see what kind of crime rate they have, but I would say our crime rate is pretty low here. Often people want to know about restrictions on the home types and the square foot limits. And I will just remind you too that if you're buying out in the country outside the city limits, you're gonna have way less restrictions on building, on setbacks, things like that. But it's often harder to get access to utilities that we talked about earlier. So if you're wanting 10 acres and you want to put your house on the back side of the 10 acres, you're gonna have to get the water and the electric all the way back to the house, and still probably gonna have to get that septic installed too. So it just depends that it's kind of a give and a take. Do you want to have the restrictions or do you want to have the utilities? Sometimes you're looking to get both. So again, the restrictions in the square foot is really going to depend on which town and which subdivision that you're looking at. You're going to have to look at that bill of assurance and see how big, and those square footage restrictions in the bills of assurance are a minimum. I don't think I've ever seen a maximum. You can build it as big as you want, except that it has to be at most 2 stories in most places, because they don't want you to block the view if you happen to be on the lake. So they also, those bill of assurance also have how far away you have to be from the property line, like with fences and the house, as well as animal restrictions. Like most of them have restrictions on livestock, like you can't have pigs and cows, you can't have bees, you're not supposed to be breeding anything, you're just supposed to have standard pets, cats and dogs. So there are some restrictions, definitely, so that they're within the limits of the lot size is mainly the reason that they have the restrictions on the square footage and such. So a lot of people also want to know the taxes. Obviously, if you're buying something, you want to know how expensive your monthly payment is, or how much you're going to be paying when you make your annual payment. If you don't have a mortgage payment to make, you only have to pay that once a year. That's definitely going to be dependent on the city and county because of the taxes that they've decided to have on property in their area. Now, I did look at a couple listings just to give you a ballpark idea. All of these are from houses in Cherokee Village. So just a complete ballpark, just to give you a really rough idea. So for on a $100,000 home, the taxes on that property was $675. You jump up to $200,000 home, the taxes were $1,050. $300,000 home, this is when it starts getting on the lake. This home was on the lake and the taxes were $1,500. Now these taxes that I'm saying do include both the county and the SID part of taxes. And then if you go up to $400,000, again, that's on the lake, that's $3,000, and the $500,000 home had $4,500 in taxes, and that was almost a 5,000 square foot home. So obviously the homes are getting larger because of that price, because of the amenities. The last one was on a lake too. So those last 3 on the lake, so that, if you remember what I said about SID taxes, those are having the higher, the $740 bill for the SID assessment, so that's kind of why they jump up too. But overall, I would say that those taxes are pretty considerably low for the price range that you're looking at, considering the nationwide average for taxes. So we do keep our taxes low, but we don't have the infrastructure either. If you look at our streets, they're probably not as great as a big city, and we don't have sidewalks on our street. So again, it's a give and take. You got to decide what's more important to you. Now, if you get into the buying process and you're ready to do some of your inspections and some of your due diligence, you're probably going to ask me if I could recommend an inspector, a survey, or even a lender if you haven't got pre-qualified yet. And of course, I have a list of people that I work with regularly. I can give you their contact information, and I know that they're professionals. I've worked with them before. But I do want to let you know, I'm very likely not going to give you just one. I don't have a favorite. I've worked with too many. And then I'm going to encourage you to contact them yourselves and find out what they offer. Sometimes some of them offer more features than others. Some of them are quicker. Some of them charge you more. You may want it to be done quickly and you don't care how much you have to pay. So that's why I leave it up to you to select and organize payment to them. And so we have several good ones in the area. And so I just want to give you a chance to make a relationship with them and decide which one you want to work with, and it's not me who's deciding who you're going to have give you an opinion on the home, especially when it comes to an inspection. You want somebody that you're comfortable with and that would tell you all the information you need to know. There's lots of extras that you could add on for an inspection. And then of course, when you get here, lots of times you want to be doing stuff to your property. You probably want to know where the landfill is, where the lumber yards. Is there a place to store your RV or boat? And so I always remind people that we are a rural small town area, so we don't have a lot of chain stores. So if you go out looking for a Lowe's, you're not going to find one for a ways away. So we do have local stores that are hardware stores. So we have B&B Supply that's just down the street at the stoplight. They have lumber as well as regular hardware store kind of stuff. And then we also, as far as the landfill, there is one right at the far edge of Cherokee Village on the Fulton County side near the animal control office. We also do have other hardware and plumbing stores, Johnson Supply in Ash Flat and Highland Supply in Highland. So there are a variety of different stores. There's not just one to choose from. There are some to choose from. There are different ones to use depending on what you want. Some of them have certain things that others don't. So it's good to be able to choose and look around. And then we actually have quite a few places for storage. I don't know if you remember back in COVID times that people wanted to be, it was crazy. You couldn't find a place to move to, you couldn't find a storage building to put your stuff in while you rented. So we kind of got some extra storage buildings back then. So we've got storage down the road at the bowling alley. There's storage across the street at, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's across the street. There's a bunch of storage buildings there. There's storage buildings down at Wiles. There's storage buildings up at the Marine Center, the place where you can buy boats. They have buildings behind them that you can store your boat or your RV. There's also storage in the center of Cherokee Village at the other marina where you can store boats and RVs. So there's plenty of places that you can store. And actually there's a new building I forgot about that they bought, the Dollar General store, and that's climate controlled. So it's actually inside the building where you can store there as well. So there are definitely options for storage right now if you decide that you want to bring a bunch of stuff, or maybe you buy a small home for a short term or something like that. There's lots of options for storage right now, definitely for here. So those were the questions that I came up with, comments on my videos. If you didn't get your question answered that you come up after watching my videos, please comment on them so I know what you have questions about. But the bottom line is this: the right realtor will welcome your questions. And when we live in the area and know what to direct you to and answer your questions about, especially about the things that are specific to our area, like SID, I'll be transparent and communicative and eager to help you to make an informed decision. Now, buying a home is definitely a big step, but with the right person by your side, it can be exciting and positive experience. Again, if I didn't answer your question, please reach out directly. My email, my phone number, you can call or text me, are all in the description. You can comment on the video. But if you want more questions answered, some of these I might hit on again, but there's definitely some other questions I answered while I was in a video that I did last year about moving to Cherokee Village and questions that you need to be asking. So give that a check as well. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.